So this is our new format, and I look a lot like Mike Bates. I can tell that you're very into this new look that I have going on. But Mike asked me to head up the meeting tonight for our community announcement time. Since he said he had to work, I don't know. Do we believe that? Does it seem plausible? So I am really excited about this new format. So, slowly we've been trying to improve the online experience of the group as we transition, hopefully back into in-person events. So instead of this Zoom process where we're sending out links and having community time, and then do we stay in the Zoom or do we go to Twitch or whatever, we already have this great Discord server. Everyone's done such a good job on that team of really fleshing that out and making it happen, that this gives us kind of a central base for our community, for that information, and now for our meetings. And so for our speakers, especially the one tonight, you can then hang out in this channel and enjoy the presentation and still have that interaction with the speaker. We're still going to continue to stream them and store them on Twitch for our participants that want that kind of experience. And so just kind of keeping it as easy as possible and keeping the expectations hopefully the same here on out if we continue the online meetings, which I'm really hoping that we do, even if we go back to in-person, more of this hybrid format for all of us that maybe struggle with transportation or childcare or other things that have been keeping us from the meetings in person in the past. So that being said, welcome. Awesome. Glad you're here. Mike gave me a couple of notes to talk about, and then if anyone else has community announcements or things that they want to talk about, we'll have time for that as well. So from Mike's notes, talking about the directory on the website. He says, things are still rough around the edges, but they're good enough to start broadening our push to get people to register in the directory. So we're asking everyone in attendance or maybe watching this video later if you want to be part of that directory on the website, which I think is a great proposition, right? The idea is, you can kind of fill out your profile and some information about you. Everyone can kind of get to know members that way and see who's in the group, maybe facilitate some conversations around skill sets if you're looking for someone, and then of course opening that up to maybe some employment opportunities as well. So if you're not familiar with that, you can go to that website, the sgf.dev, and go up to that attendance section and check that out and start to get your profile set up. He wanted me to call out specifically props to Megan Blevins for her 2 big pull requests that brought the password reset feature, mobile navigation, and a starting point for the search feature. So big claps for Megan and helping out with that. He said that was a big deal. So
Thank you.
He said we 100% will get open items in GitHub this month for the website. Not that things are significantly leveling out. It's finally to the point where we can isolate bite-sized tasks. So look forward to that. And then if you want to know more about the website or you want to know more about how you can participate with the website, definitely hop into the Discord channel for the website committee. And I'm sure someone there will be happy to get you oriented. You can also go back to, I think we have a recording of Mike's talk on the website as well, kind of talking about the parts and pieces and how it works. And that's a good orientation to get into it as well. So I can't take questions about the website. Does anyone have questions about the website maybe that we could try to answer as a group or that I could pass along to Mike and the team? Many crickets.
I have one question.
I need a crickets button. Yeah. You have a question.
I was curious, and I don't know if anybody can answer this, but it looks like everybody that signs up to the directory, it says founding member. Is that going to always be that way, or is that supposed to mean something?
That's a good question. Is anyone in the current chat have any actual input on that, or I can put that a bullet point here for someone to answer.
David, you're muted on your physical mic.
I think the founding member thing is going to go back to when we had to sign up for founding members, so that tag's going to be put for just those people.
Mike is in the Twitch chat and says it will get fixed.
Mike, go back to work.
I appreciate. He says he's on the road. Hi. So yeah. Okay. Don't wreck your car or anything. Watching Twitch on your phone. It's a terrible idea. Okay. Cool. So that will get fixed. Good. Anything else website related before I move on to the next item?
And just a +1 on the kudos. It looks great.
Awesome. It does. It looks really great. And I'm so glad that we actually have a website now, so I can just start pointing people to things instead of meetup.com. I think that's great too. Yeah, big props to that team. It's an effort. Okay, so, we've been talking about in-person events, hybrid events. As the head of the events committee, I would like to get your thoughts on, are we comfortable enough to where we want to start thinking about maybe having an in-person meeting in May, keeping kind of a hybrid format where, I don't know if you remember some of that went on last year where you could RSVP, we did order a little bit of food, you could come hang out in person, we kept things distanced in the room, which meant we had to limit that to a small number of people, but then if you want to come and hang out in the Discord and do that, you could do that too. I'd like to take a temperature on that. If it does or does not sound like we want to do that in May, or if we should just wait. But we do need to talk with eFactory if that's what we would like to do. So I'd like to get some time in advance. So thoughts, ideas, I can put up a poll in the Discord.
Yeah, we need to get drinking going after the events again.
Drinking, okay.
Yeah.
I think I know how to make a poll. There we go. So right above our voice channel is the Dev Night chat, and I just dropped a poll in there. If you would please give me your yes, no. Those of you on Twitch, if you could give me a yes, no to the question, I would attend an in-person meeting in May. That would be super helpful in just kind of gauging a feeling for whether or not we want to do that or if we feel ready to do that. I know from a vaccination standpoint, things are just now getting rolling for many of our other groups of people, populations. So, yeah, don't want to rush things. Don't want to put people in situations where they feel uncomfy.
Does the CDC have any guidance yet that anybody knows of about people that don't live in the same household or close family being in a close space
that have been vaccinated?
Yes. Do you know?
I know for Easter, their recommendation was if you're fully vaccinated, you're good to go without masks, meeting like inside. And then if they said, I think for Easter it was like, if there's one family that's not vaccinated, but everyone else is, you were fine to be maskless, I think was the recommendation they gave, if memory serves.
And that also was, making sure that you were 2 weeks past if you're doing the second dose.
Yes, that was fully vaccinated 2 weeks after.
That was considered fully vaccinated, yeah.
Yeah, 2 weeks after your second dose.
So as I understood it, that guidance was for families and close relatives.
Yeah.
We're talking, as much as I love everybody on this call, you're not my family. I'd like to know, I'm curious what the CDC says for groups like ours.
Yeah, well, we're hearing very, very similar things at OTC regarding classes. So it sounds like that it's not targeted towards families so much as just are people vaccinated? Like that seems to be the primary target of that information.
But that just means maskless, so you could still meet up with mask, right?
Right. Yeah, and of course, we'll have to follow whatever guidelines the E-Factory is going to put out for us if we tell Melissa that we want to have a May meeting, whatever guidelines they are still requiring, then that's what we're going to have to meet. And considering that Springfield still has their mask ordinance in place, we would most likely have a mask requirement in May. So, yeah. So that's kind of where we stand with things. If everyone could kind of just let us know, I'll leave that poll there. So if someone watches this maybe in the next couple of days and would like to go vote, it's there in the Dev Night chat. Just like, again, so we can get a temperature of where things are. And then hopefully as we head into the next couple of months, things will start to look firmer, and then we can really make some decisions about in-person stuff and what we want to do. But I know right now it feels like we're on the cusp of change. The good kind of change. Not the big scary change like we've been having. We don't want the big scary change. And then, Jason, I saw your message in the Twitch chat. He says that the AWS group will be remote in May. If that's a concern for anybody. Okay, cool. All right. So if you do have any specific comments about in-person meetings or questions, it sounds like Mike is going to put this on our agenda for the next Devs board meeting. So if there are things that you would like us to kind of highlight or concerns that you have or questions, you can either put those in the Dev Night chat as well, and I'll pull those out for our agenda, or you can always message one of the board members as well, and that way we'll have that information for the meeting. If there's anything in particular that you just want to make sure that we're addressing, we can certainly talk about that as well. And then lastly, a call for presenters. So if you're interested in presenting in the coming months, please throw your hat in the ring. Contact me or anyone on the events committee, or drop something in the events committee channel. We'd love to hear from you. If you are nervous about presenting and would like a hand-holding experience, I'm happy to provide my services. I have been playing Discord Buddy for some people while they present to make sure that, I'm like the bug in your ear, that you can hear me but no one else can, but it's helpful knowing you're not alone, especially for people that aren't used to presenting in this weird streamer talk to your screen type format. It can be a little disorienting your first time. So if you'd like a training course, hand-holdy type experience, I'm happy to help you with that. But yeah, just let me know if you're interested in presenting something or topics. If you have ideas for topics, maybe we can shop those around to people that we know could speak on those topics. And that helps, because I know sometimes we have people that want to present, but they just kind of have a writer's block of ideas or aren't sure what the group would like to hear. So having some topics would be great too. So there's that events committee channel. That's a great place to put that information if you have a topical request. All right. That is the end of the document provided to me by Mr. Bates. Any other community announcements?
Yeah, OpenSGF is still a thing. We are trying to recruit more members to help work on civil projects for our city. We have one really good one right now involving workforce development, which was brought upon by Hack for Good a few years back. So we're looking for more involvement from that, and it sounds like we have an exciting project provided by Shannon. She's here on the call, that's coming down the pipeline. So we're definitely looking for developers. We're also discussing a May meetup as well, in-person meetup. So come stop by.
Very cool. I know I'm trying to push you students, and they're very intimidated. But I'm trying to get them, I'm specifically giving them your name, Fred. Like, reach out to Fred. Go to the Discord, talk to Fred. In hopes that I can funnel a few of them to you. I have students that need, like, volunteer hours and things.
Yeah, I mean, we'd be happy to host them.
Yeah. Yeah. So and if anyone else knows of those kinds of like volunteer opportunities that, because we have students and we have programs at OTC where they have to get a number of volunteer hours to meet certain requirements. Sometimes they're scholarship related or class related. So if you know of opportunities such as those, I'm going to keep pushing them your way, Fred. But
yeah, I mean, we need designers.
Love to know about any other software related. I would love for them to be software related. A lot of times they're going out and doing volunteer hours at just area nonprofits and stuff. But it's great if they're software related. Yeah. Yeah,
we need project owners, designers, coders, you name it, we could use it. So
awesome. Cool. Any other announcements, comments? Peanut Gallery.
The .NET user group's planning to have a meetup next month, but we have a JetBrains license to give away. So, first person to comment in the .NET channel on Discord, license is yours.
Go get it. It's a mad scramble. At this point, don't we all have JetBrains licenses? We're so JetBrainsed up at this point. There's so many. That's awesome.
This is great.
It is. JetBrains is awesome. Let's just talk up our sponsor for a second. JetBrains is awesome. Everyone should get a JetBrains license. If you don't have one, you're missing out because all of us have one, and that's and all the cool kids have JetBrains licenses. So
if you use Visual Studio and you haven't tried Writer, try Writer.
Try Writer.
It's so good.
That's true.
We should actually look into getting sponsors for these groups that we just pitch in the middle of it.
We do have sponsors for our groups. I am just terrible about plugging them, and I did have a graphic last month that we put up with some sponsors. But we have sponsors. They exist. I'm going to neglect the crap out of them now because I don't have a sheet with their names on it. So, yep. All right, good. Anything else before we let David take it away? All right, so you can stay here in the Discord. David's going to give his presentation from here, but if you're on the Twitch, you're watching us on Discord right now, and then you just get to watch David's presentation that way as well. So it is your level of comfort here for Dev Night. You can use that Dev Night chat in the Discord to ask any questions as I'm showing it here so people can see. If you're on the Twitch, I will funnel your questions over to the chat. So, David, you only have to look at one place for questions, if you would. And so, then that way everything gets seen, and hopefully there's not too much of a delay in that process. But, all right, so I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to mute myself here and probably turn off the camera so I can eat dinner and enjoy David's presentation.
Hey folks, can you all see my screen? See if I can see people's thumbs ups or not.
Yep.
Yay, there's a thumb up. Okay.
Yeah,
so
if you're new to Discord, you might have to click watch stream in that box there, just a side note for those of you that aren't familiar, but yes, we can see it.
Good. So I was asked to give this presentation by Ben because no one knows what a quality advocate is. And if you're expecting good humor throughout, this front page is what's going to tell you about my humor, which is comparing quality advocacy to quality assurance with a little wordplay. So this is how worldwide technology assures quality. So who am I? I'm David Lowe. I've been doing QA for almost 20 years. I'm old. I started off as a volunteer tester with PopCap Games. I actually have credits in Bejeweled. It's an old game if you never heard of it. It used to be really hot. I'm kind of proud of it. Currently, I'm the principal engineer of mobile testing for Worldwide Technology. I'm based in St. Louis, but I work with QAs across the world, from London to India to Springfield, Missouri. I used to help run an EQ2 Raid Alliance. which is why I'm used to Discord. We traveled around to Mumble and all kinds of other chats, but Discord was what we ended up on by the time I was leaving. So, and I love board games. But before we get into quality advocacy and what that is and what type of QA that is, I want to give you a disclaimer. And this disclaimer comes directly from my director of QA. It depends. Everything I'm going to talk about in this presentation depends on different things. I had a huge spew here about how every organization, every team, every client, every situation is different, and what I'm talking about needs to be applied differently to those things. It boils down to it depends. It's the most annoying answer we give to any question at Worldwide Technology, and we give that answer quite often because everything is different, and I'm going to show you some of that throughout here. I also need to talk a little bit about what teams look like, because teams are really different at Worldwide Technology than what you're expecting. First of all these people are on a team. So we got devs and QA and designers, and the client can be part of the team. Right now, my current team has the client sitting with us, coding with us. And it's really fun for me to have this many people on one team talking together, working together. And if you don't recognize all the roles up there, that's fine. I just want to break down the different roles that could be on a team. And I alluded to it, but we all sit in the same area because we're a team for a client project. There's not a dev team. There's not a this type of feature team. I'm on the Jersey Mike's team. We are making the Jersey Mike's app together. Everyone involved with the Jersey Mike's team is all sitting together right now virtually, but in the pre-times, we all sat in the same area, could reach out and touch each other. That is how we work. We also do a lot of pairing and mobbing because we're all in the same area. We hear people struggling, and I'll slide over and be like, hey, can I be a rubber duck? Or one of the devs will be like, hey, you're struggling to set up data. What's going on? Well, because we're in so close context, we listen to each other, we hear each other, and we try to work out with each other what we need as a team. And I need to say that because so many groups are used to the dev team is over here, then the QA team is on the next floor over there. And this type of cross-mixing is really unique and interesting and catches people off guard. So as I'm telling my stories and sharing my war crimes here, it's interesting and important to know this is how I'm currently working. And I don't work this way anywhere else. So I talked about teams. I've been on 14 teams with Worldwide Technology. I mentioned I'm currently on the Jersey Mike's app. I was on the Schnucks app for a little bit. Can't name any of the other clients I've worked with, but you can see the breakdown. Everything from one single API endpoint to a full hiring website complete with PDF, resume parser, I've worked on. So it's a wide variety of teams, and rolling on or off a team isn't a sign that the team's done. We really like rotating people around. It's how I got so much varied experience, and it's been fun. But once again, it goes back to this depends thing. Every team is different. We have different boards, different tech, different process, even different agile. Like, I've been on full waterfall teams, and I've been on full extreme agile teams. I've been on Scrum teams, and no two Scrum teams do Scrum the same way. So, this experience is coming from a variety of different needs, a variety of different wants, and a variety of different ways of doing a thing. So, finally, what is a quality advocate? As I alluded to, everyone thinks we're quality assurance, that we are testers and stuff. But the tautology is the truest thing, is someone that advocates quality. Easiest way of handling it, right? But what does that mean? What is quality? What is advocating it? So I went to the James Bach definition of quality. It's the most complete definition I know of. And if you haven't seen this definition, it can catch you a little off guard. And it's anything that matters to anyone that matters. So if you sit here and think about it a little bit, anyone that matters, that's a lot of people. The client matters, the users matter, the user with the new iPhone matters, the user with the 10-year-old Android might matter. There are still businesses out there that use Internet Explorer. If they're asking you to do work, they matter. And what matters to them can change, because suddenly something can become more important than it used to be. But this is how we perceive quality. The flip side of this statement is stuff like well-designed code that's easy to refactor and easy to maintain counts as quality. And in one case, one of my clients wanted a 33% frustration failure rate where their users would go through and stop 33% of the time, because they didn't have the staff. If everyone that wanted to use the stuff came in and used it, they needed a certain percentage to drop out. So that became quality in and of itself. So this definition is more than just fail pass. This definition is more than just the software works. It's looking at the bigger picture, and that's going to be a recurring theme throughout this. And advocate, I'm using my definition. It's my talk. I get to do that. And it's all about asking the stupid questions and stating the obvious. Honestly, 90% of my job is just stating the obvious out loud and making sure everyone understands the obvious. From, hey, don't include spaces, and then I go, okay, when you say don't include spaces in names, does that mean Anne Marie doesn't count because that's Anne space Marie? Oh, no, you should include spaces in the middle. Stuff like that. So really, quality advocacy is about figuring out who matters, figuring out what matters to them right now, asking the questions to figure out what matters to them, and asking the questions to the team that doesn't matter, and communicating a lot more than you would expect. And quality advocates value a few things. I put the 4 main ones up here. And honestly, though, they're very, very similar. And as I go through them, I had real trouble splitting these up into different areas and trying to highlight them, because they all boil down to one thing at the end, and that's making a product that feels good. Notice I didn't say that works. I didn't say that does the thing well. I said feels good. And that's a little subjective. And the first one I'm talking about here is the whole team approach. So the basic premise of the whole team approach is everyone is responsible for quality. Everyone. Everyone on the team, devs, design, the client, everyone is responsible for quality. But wait, I'm the quality advocate. Shouldn't I be responsible for quality? Well, my job is not to say this passes, this fails, this passes, this fails, thou shalt not go to prod. That's not my job. My job is to go, hey, the client said they liked green polka dots, but we got pink stripes over here. Did something change? Or, hey, are we sure we want to go to prod with this bug here? It makes the app crash if you go in, You add your name, but not your phone number, then back out, then come back in and add your phone number, then the app crashes. Is that a big enough deal to not go to prod? And there's a discussion. I'm not the final say. It's up to the team, and the team gets to decide and talk about it. Of course, I'm part of the team, so I get a say too. It's pretty nice. And I'm going back to who is the team again, just once again showing how many different viewpoints, how many different roles make that up in that, the client counts, designers count, QAs count, software engineers count. So the whole team gets it, because how many times have you went through, you coded something up, you sent it to QA, and then QA sends it back with failed notes. And you're like, okay, I can fix this. And you fix it and you send it back and you get the work returned again with another failure. You fix it and it fails again. And then you fix it and it fails again for another reason. I hate doing that. It's not something I like doing. And with the whole team approach, it's so easy to be like, hey, this doesn't look right. Can you slide over here? And then dev is, going through, making their fixes. And I'm like, hey, think of this. And I'm going to test this. And this is my test data. And this is my scenario. And have you thought about, someone hitting enter without putting anything into that field and just talking things up? And it's really a shared responsibility together. And on top of that, I'm one person. There are thousands, if not millions, of users. Someone's going to do something out there that I've never dreamed of. My favorite example of that is I used to work for a company that did software for utilities, and part of that was reading electric meters. So I was testing the reader, and if the reading was 1,234, I would type in 1234. That wasn't the right way of doing it. One of our clients wanted their readers to type in 4321 backwards. I never knew, never thought of it. But that was their process and how they handled it to make sure people paid attention, because you had to stop and reverse it. So that's an example of a very valid case that I would personally never would have thought of until I stumbled across it. Speaking of that, the same company has a great example of what happens if you're not the whole team, the frustration that can build. And this falls around cooling and heating degree days. If you don't know cooling and heating degree days, if it falls too cold, it counts as a heating degree day. If the temperature goes too high, it counts as a cooling degree day. You add them together and you come up with this formula that says how much electricity people are using on average. It's a really neat formula. We were doing a complete redesign for it. Our requirements and analysts had spent years researching this, getting it up, set up, had completely redesigned it. Literal years, 600-page document, looked great. Grabbed one of the best devs in the company to work on it. The devs spent months redesigning this page, got up, was going to be a handoff, but they were also showing it off to the CEO at the time, and you all see where this is going. But so they pull me in, and I'm expecting this to fall flat on its face. But to my amazement, as I'm sitting there in this handoff with the CEO and they're demoing it, it's amazing. It's handling zip codes well. It's looking up weather from different weather stations. It's handling Canadian zip codes, which have letters in them. It's handling bad zip codes. It's handling when the weather stations send bad weather in. It's correlating it. It's pointing out highs and lows, it putting hotspots on the map, it's do slices, it dices, it's amazing. And then I go, hey, this is great on the heating and cooling degrees page. How does it look on the service location page? And there's this pause, and the requirements person looks over at me and goes, heating and cooling degrees do not exist on the service location page. And that's when I knew I screwed up. I had to insist they look. And of course, there on the service location page was the old heating and cooling degrees information. Did not link to the new stuff at all. And I felt horrible embarrassing them. And they were rightfully angry that they had such an amazing demo fall flat on its face because of one thing they didn't know. So this is why we try to get the whole team together to share information, get people talking, and use that knowledge so we don't hit those things. Along with that, so I gave you that definition of quality. That's a huge definition. That's a lot of things. That is impossible to fully vet because what people want and what people believe matters to them right then and there changes. So instead of pure pass-fail, we look into risk acceptance. So even with pass-fail, there's no such thing as 0 bugs. And I put up a recent headline that the fastest way to beat Paper Mario is to turn it off, put in Zelda, play Zelda for a little bit, and then hot swap it back to Paper Mario. And then you can beat Paper Mario in under half an hour. That's amazing to me. But that's a bug. Paper Mario's, a high quality game. Zelda's a high quality game. But that in and of itself is a bug. It's a bug that speedrunners use, and it exists in high quality software. So the goal of 0 bugs isn't what we're looking for, because that bug doesn't make that software less. So with risk acceptance, what we're doing is we're looking at what could happen. And we're looking at what are the odds it could happen. And it's not really hey, this is a 20% chance. It's more of this is going to happen for sure. Or it's likely this is going to happen. Or this is low percentage chance it's going to happen. But those general ballparks. And then we go, what is the impact? Does it crash the app? Does it stop the user from placing an order? Does it just make the pink turn green? And based on that, you can come up with how important this is and make a plan. Sometimes the plan is, we gotta fix that. That's a bug, it needs fixed. Sometimes the plan is, it's not worth fixing. We know of it, write it up, make sure any support people know it exists, but it's not worth our time and effort. And sometimes the plan is, we gotta fix it later, and you write it up, send it out, maybe tell people that it exists. But it's all about coming up with this plan, knowing how to prioritize your bugs, and not going insane over it. And in this case, great is the enemy of good. Everything is a trade-off. Making these decisions is a trade-off in and of itself, and trying to decide where to focus your time and resources. There's only so many days you have to make something and get it to market. There's only so many developers. There's only so much energy you can put into it. And beyond that, there's usually more important features to be working on. Nothing's going to be perfect. And accepting that is a good thing to do. And I'm going back to, it's not up to me, it's up to the team. I'm not the one making these decisions. We're talking about as a team. I'm informing them my opinion. They're telling me what they think. I pull up my experience and try to work through it with the team to decide what can be fixed and what can't be fixed. And I rely on the devs to go, that's a really deep, complicated bug. It's going to take a lot of time and effort, which tells me that the trade-off slider needs to be more towards this is high risk, high impact than not. And that leads me to the pineapple story. which is a story our delivery lead loved to tell. Delivery lead at Worldwide Technology is someone that just tries to make sure the team is delivering on time, delivering what we said, keeps the deadlines up front, stuff like that. And this was on Schnook's team, and we were making it a feature where you would scan a barcode with your app, and it would add whatever you scanned to your shopping list. So the first thing myself and my fellow QA did was walk to Schnook's from our office, go in, and start scanning random barcodes. Because why wouldn't we? That didn't work at all. So we reached out to Schnook's and went, hey, we were trying to scan barcodes and none of it works. And they go, oh yeah, the backend's not ready for you. So they fixed that, got it working. And so we went back up, and the second time, everything scanned. It was amazing. And then I got to the pineapple. The pineapple didn't scan. That was odd. I could scan apples. I could scan cucumbers. I could scan Cheerios. I couldn't scan this pineapple. I couldn't scan any of the pineapple. So I bought a pineapple. I mean, the team got tasty pineapple, and we got data that didn't work. Yay, test data. So try to figure it out. The barcode scanner could read it. We could get the data. Had to reach out to Schnook's, talk to them about it. Turns out, pineapples have a different barcode structure than everything else in the store. No one thought of them because they're this one unique characteristic, but they have a different barcode style. And through this, the immediate question I asked was, are there any other unique barcodes? Turns out there are. And because of one pineapple, we found 16 unique styles of barcodes you previously couldn't add to the shopping list, and fixed it. It was low effort to fix, took a little bit of finding, and was it a big impact? No, but the frustration of if you really wanted to add a pineapple and you were scanning the barcode and you couldn't, that's a lot of frustration for the user. And that brings us into the holistic view. So I've talked about this a lot. As I said, all these topics are interconnected and weave together a little bit. And the holistic view is simply looking at the whole system. And the system isn't just your software. The system is, for Schnook's, is walking into the store with a shopping list, checking the things off the shopping list, checking out. That whole experience is part of the app experience. And yeah, things are going to go wrong outside the control of the software, but how does the software interact with that system? How does it fit into that system? How does taking a can out of a case 24 Mountain Dew, scanning it, does that work? Because the barcode on the box is different than the barcode on that can. Put a can, or does it put a case of 24 on there? And it doesn't really matter if one small part of the system works, if the whole system doesn't work. Like, you could build the best experience for using credit cards you possibly could, but if people can't add something to their cart and check out and use your credit cards, does it matter? So, Pineapple Story Mark II, Revenge of the Pineapple. So after all that, I went back to buy another pineapple, as you do, or at least as I do, and I scanned it in, and it added pineapple to my shopping list. But I couldn't remove pineapple from my shopping list. Pineapple was permanently stuck on my shopping list after adding it. So what we found out was, even though we worked the back end, and the back end was handling the pineapple well and its special barcode well, the front end wasn't handling the special barcode well, and it would display it, but wouldn't let you interact with it. So this all wraps around to, it's not just one section of the app. You have to look at the whole experience. And this one pineapple, going in and the experience of trying to add it and the experience of trying to buy it, and just, I can't pick a better example for quality advocacy than this one pineapple. And it boils down to a user experience. And I'm not talking about UI. I'm talking about frustration. I'm talking about just what a user thinks of the software. And a user could be anyone. But one of the most interesting things for me starting my career, and I wish I could find updated stats on this, but this comes from 2005, 2006, is users are more likely to use software that doesn't actually accomplish their task than use a piece of software that can accomplish their task but frustrates them. So that is amazing to me. But they're 30% more likely to use the thing that doesn't actually do the job. So there's a concept called non-functional testing, and I've talked about it throughout this whole thing of you test in the environment the software will be used in. Sometimes that's like load testing. Can it take the load? Sometimes it's taking the phone into the store and seeing if you can use it in the store or in your home to add things to your shopping list. Sometimes it's as simple as just taking it out into the sun and seeing if you can read your Kindle outside. Sometimes it's one of our projects is a military project that has the infamous story of where they designed the thing, they had it, they were presenting to people, and they were getting kudos on how awesome it was, and then one of the older gentlemen looks over and said, "Yeah, that's great, but we can't use it. Let me show you why." And after they put on all the gear, they couldn't touch the buttons on the screen to actually use what was built. Non-functional testing for me, though, started way early in my career. So this is Rocket Mania. It's a PopCap game. And the goal is to connect the fires to the rockets, send off all the rockets. It's like pipes. And the mascot is this Chinese dragon. The first time that I was playing this with the voice, the voice was really distracting. It wasn't wrong. The game worked. The voice, you played as it was, but the actor was doing, I would call it a 1980s Asian voice mixed with Jackie Chan Adventures and Uncle. It took me out of the game. And I felt icky. I didn't want to point this out. It kind of worked. I was still a volunteer tester. And after a few days, I had to. So I go to the message boards and post, "What do people think of the dragon's voice?" Just that. 8 pages later of people complaining about how the voice throws them out of the game and distracts them. A PopCap representative pops in and says 2 things. One is, we hired an actual Asian to do the voice. 2, we hear you. We're bringing him back with new direction. A few weeks later, we get a new voice, and it's still Asian, but it is not as cartoonish and not as distracting, and it fits the theme a lot better. It doesn't bring you out of the experience. Once again, that nothing was broken. It functionally worked. It did the job, but it just distracted. It just frustrated me in a way I couldn't really put my finger on. That's non-functional testing. That's thinking about things in a non-functional way. So I talked about what quality advocacy is. I've talked about what quality advocates value. So why have one of us? And I've said it multiple times. It's not just testing. The image on the right is the infamous onion, as it's affectionately known. On the outside, you have all the different meta types of testing. Well, not all of them. You got test infrastructure under it, and data types, and knowing your data scenarios, and then all the documentation about where all this stuff goes and how to use it. That is the core of what quality advocacy does. Everyone sees the testing, but we also set up the data. We make templates. We know how the environments run. We set up the environments. We runs the deployment pipeline depending on the team. We also know how the training works. We know all the documentation. We know what the risks are and what the risk management is, what the client says they want, what the team says they want. We know the history of the whys and the hows. We also have a different mindset. Refining something is a very different process than building something. And we think about what could go wrong, why it could go wrong, the scenarios in which it happens, and we try to think through that, work with you to come up with it. And we're there to offload that cognitive load, honestly. We're there to think of that for you. Every QA fully expects our devs are super awesome rock stars and are going to get it right the first time. We're still going to check, but we're actually disappointed when it's not done right the first time. We're not angry. We're not upset. We're like, oh. And we own that holistic view. Hey, this is the system it's in. This is how it's interacting with those systems. This is how it's being used. But out of all that, you get some unexpected things. You get us arguing that, hey, the code quality could be better, and hey, give the team some time to refactor this. You get us listening to the customer needs and speaking up for those to the team. You get us listening to the team and telling the customer, no, the team needs time to do something else. You get us suggesting trade-offs on what can be done versus the time we have. And I put not just testing there again because I feel like it needs reiterated that that's not all we do. And good advocates are curious. And we accept our bugs. We know they're out there. We're not going to stop bugs from happening. We accept them one way or the other. And we're able to speak to the risks of those bugs. We think of all the what-if scenarios, we work with the team, and we learn. Knowledge of 18th century literature has helped me in my career, believe it or not. So you never know what's going to be important and who's going to be important. So just learning stuff is going to be important. And if you take anything away from this talk, I want you to take this away. It's not about pass-fail. It's I want to see how it fails, because everything's going to fail somewhere, some way. Even if I have to cut off all its foundation and make it tougher, it's going to fail. So I want to see how it fails, why it fails, and what we can do about that, even if it's just write up a documentation and tell support, hey, if for some reason the website goes down, then the phone app's going to return a 500 this way. For a complete sum up, here's what we value and a quick overview of those items. And once again, as my disclaimer at the start said, apply these as needed. Apply these with some thought and caution. And that's the end. Do I have any questions?
I had one.
Yes.
As a quality advocate, what have you regularly seen developers doing that is needlessly harming quality?
Ooh. So I have 3 answers to that. The first answer is really simple. If you give me an input field, put a limit on the input field. Please put a limit on the input field. Worldwide technology QAs have a tradition that if you have an open input field, we will try to copy multiple copies of War and Peace into it, the whole book.
Wow.
We once got up to 8 copies in one input field. It was the best time ever. The second thing is not speaking up about standards. And you know the coding standards, you know how things are supposed to look and feel, you know the web standards, you know the iOS standards, the Android standards, you know these standards. And just speaking up about them, being like, hey, these are the standards, so you sure you want to break them? And sometimes there's good reasons for breaking them. But speaking up about them is important instead of just accepting it. And the third thing is being so focused on your own little piece and not how that piece works, like, in the whole system. I've said it multiple times, like with the credit card thing. I've seen someone build the perfect credit card system, but no one could add anything to the card. And they're like, well, my credit card works. That's not helpful.
Okay. Thank you. It's all good points.
Any other questions?
That one. So, David, what excites you most about quality advocacy in your day job? What part of this? What aspect of this is your favorite?
So, my favorite part is just the destructive chaos I can bring without being destructive. I know that seems like an oxymoron there, but I really love breaking things in a positive manner. I love being like, I love copying multiple copies of War and Peace into a text field. Not because anyone in their right mind is going to copy multiple copies of War and Peace into a text field, but a cat might walk across your keyboard, take a nap, put in 60,000 characters, and then hit enter by accident. That's possible. A hacker might be trying to do an overflow attack. That's possible. But seeing what happens, how the system reacts to it, it excites me. I love doing it. Does that answer your question, Ben?
Yes. Sorry, I keep getting muted.
I had another one.
Sure.
Would you say a quality advocate is a combination of a client, developer, and product advocate?
Yes. So we live in this strange quasi state that connects all aspects together. I'm not a designer, but I've been in more design meetings than I care to count. I've been in more design meetings than our team's designer has been in. I'm not a dev, but I go in and I've made Git commits on our project because I can, and I know the code base. Now, it's nothing complex, but I can change strings, no big deal. I'm not a tester. I will tell you flat out I'm not a tester, but I test. and I'm there to listen and hear what's needed and come up with a plan on how to accomplish it. So yeah, we're a combination of almost everything.
Okay, thanks.
Was my next question. So thank you all. I know this wasn't deep dive dev, but this is a part of development that even a lot of QAs don't know there's this type of QA out there. And I was dying just doing pass fails. Like, blindly following the test plan was awful, especially since I knew blindly following the test plan didn't actually ensure a good product in the end. This does, and it's awesome. So, thank you all.
Thanks, David.
Thanks.